Welcome to the Freedom CEO podcast. It's about becoming the chief decision maker over your life in order to step into a life of freedom. From business, health, wealth, charity, and giving back to just doing life on your own terms. I am your host, Shay Invidiata. I am an award-winning activist, change maker, and a multifaceted impact entrepreneur with over a decade of experience in business, philanthropy, and health and wellness. In this space, I'm going to be bringing you insights, not just from me, but from incredible thought leaders around the globe to help you start making decisions towards living a life of freedom so you can live a life you love. Are you ready, guys? Because we are going all in. Today's episode is a special one as I'm kicking off the Naked series, talking to women about the real and raw truths around breast implants and their journey to removing them and why. There's not a better woman to kick off this series than holistic beauty coach Amanda Porta. Based in the beauty capital of the world, Beverly Hills, Amanda has 18 years of experience in the beauty industry, and she has trained under some of the best practitioners in the country. Amanda understands the importance of incorporating holistic health into all of her treatment plans, and through her love for innovation, inspired her to introduce this concept of wellness into the plastic surgery industry in 2012. And today, Amanda works with Dr. Kevin Brenner as a patient advocate for women going through breast implant illness. She has advised thousands of women around the world, from celebrities to athletes to prominent businesswomen, that have trusted her expertise to support them through this health crisis. Amanda has appeared on multiple media outlets and podcasts. And today, Amanda is in studio to share her story that has helped so many. She's widely known as the holistic beauty coach and has a strong reputation for speaking the truth on Instagram and is regularly shadow banned for it. She also says that the problem is not in our head, it's in our boobs. I am so excited to introduce today and have Amanda Porta on the Freedom CEO podcast. Amanda, welcome.
Thank you for having me, Shay. I mean, it's only taken how long for us to actually make this happen?
Yes, about a year. I think we've been chatting about it.
Right. Well, so nice to be here. Thank you for having me.
So nice to have you. And, I'm excited to also share. I don't know if I shared this with you, but I'm kicking off a whole series on the podcast called the Naked series, where we are highlighting women's stories who have explanted and maybe talking about some of those uncomfortable truths. They can be hard for people, but getting down into the raw nitty gritty on this topic. And there really isn't a better person to kick off the series than with yourself. So thank you for making the time today to join.
That sounds amazing. I love it. All of you are so creative. I think all of you ladies are just some of the most amazing women that I've ever met, all getting the message out in your own unique ways. It's really beautiful.
And today is a pretty iconic day for yourself.
Yes.
Tell me why.
Today marks the 4-year anniversary since I had my explant. And
wow.
My life drastically changed after being sick for 7.5 years.
Wow, 7.5 years.
Yeah, which doesn't sound like maybe a long time, but when you are chronically ill every day, and in my case, I had, 40 symptoms or so, it's a long, long time, especially when you don't know what's wrong. It's scary.
Yeah. Well, I mean, 7 years is over half a decade. Like that's a long time. I mean, you think about if you have an injury and how long that feels, even if it's just a week. So 7 years to be dealing with not just one symptom, you just said that you had a whole long list of them, is definitely a hard journey.
And I don't think people understand, just because, again, this illness has not been, what's the word I'm looking for? People have not acknowledged it. So I don't think people understand, say, for instance, someone breaks their leg, or you have, unfortunately, a cancer diagnosis, right? We have compassion because we understand how serious that is. But it seems that with breast implant illness, I don't see that acknowledgement and compassion because I don't think people understand. These women, it's not like they're just dealing with my hair's falling out a little, my vision is impaired. They have upwards of, every symptom on the list
Right.
in many cases, like I did. Thyroid disruption, adrenal fatigue, hair loss, vision issues. They're having, you name it, depression, anxiety, and anxiety that's through the roof, autoimmune illness. Some of these things all at once.
Totally.
Some people can't even deal with one thing, let alone 38 things. Yeah. So I just don't feel like there's enough compassion for what these women are truly going through.
Absolutely. And I think part of the challenge has been, and you would know this better than me because I only explanted last year, and my journey really into kind of looking inwards of this biohack, if you will, that I went on started about 5 years ago, but it was really only in the last 18 months where I really started to look at my implants as either the cause of the problem or a contributing factor of the problem. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people, I still think today, even though there's so much more awareness now, there's still so much room that needs to grow, mm-hmm. but there's still a really lack of almost belief. Some of that does come from within even the medical community of like lack of education, mm-hmm. And lack of tracking this correlation of symptoms to, it could be the implants.
Right.
And so I think it's, I still think that's part of the issue is mm-hmm. that it's hard for people to extend that compassion because they might not actually believe that the implants are causing the issue.
Well, I understand that. And I go back to my theory. It's like, do you know Project Mockingbird, the theory behind that? If you hear something enough times in your head, even if it's not true, the brain recognizes it as true. So it's interesting to me that when I got the newly introduced to the market silicone breast implants that had been banned, that was that was the messaging going out. No, they're safe, they're safe, they're safe. And so I thought it was odd when I started hearing from other practitioners when I finally put it together, just a little over 4 years ago. I thought dentists, every type of doctor, people I knew, nothing to do, say, with breast implants, just, ER doctors that I knew they'd say, oh no, breast implants are safe.
Right.
But I'd say, but how do you know that? And I would question them. And they really couldn't ever give me an answer. And yet, when I bring up what I went through, it's so fascinating to me, whether it's a guy friend, they're like, oh yeah, that happened to my mom. Or, just someone random, oh yeah, my cousin went through that. Well, where were all these people before? Because I'd never heard this in all of the time that I had been working in plastic surgery.
And you've been in the industry for a long time, right? In health and beauty. It's going on almost 20 years now, correct?
In beauty, yeah, right out of college. It was not something that I planned. It was just the day spa industry I got involved in because a woman that I knew, she was just an entrepreneur and it was a really cool concept behind it. So I started working for her mostly because I like creative endeavors like that. So I always am interested too in watching a business grow.
Sure.
So I started with that, and then that went into med spa and plastic surgery, facial first. And so I did not sell breast implants that entire time. Interestingly enough, the only time span in there that I was selling implants was between 2015 and 2018. And that was when I was at my sickest.
Wow.
Like, literally, I have them in my hand, the thing that is making me ill, and I have no idea.
So where was the turning point for you? When did you start to realize that maybe the thing that you're selling is actually what's causing you to be sick?
It was a random appointment with a new colonic specialist. My friend bought me, I think for the holidays, a gift certificate. And I said to her, I remember saying, I don't want to really go to anyone else. I had seen in all about 67 practitioners.
Wow.
7.5 years of all different specialties. And when Western medicine wasn't bringing in any answers, then I started seeing all the Eastern medicine practitioners. So I was kind of tired of seeing practitioners, but I just said, okay, fine, I'll go. Because she said, she's really different. I said, okay, I'll go. So at the end of my session that day, She said, I think I know why you're sick. And this was the first week of December 2018. Yes. And I said, oh, why? And she said, it's your breast implants. And she said it so matter of factly. You know, when someone does that, where you almost can't even argue with them, but I
Yes.
wasn't convinced. I said, did you see what I do for a living on the paper? I said, I've not heard of this. She said, oh, yeah, I've had 11 clients just this year alone who look and sound like you. And when they get their breast implants out, they get better.
Wow.
So I left that day not convinced, in denial. And I see that in women all the time. I had never thought of my breast implants because my breast implants had become part of my body.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't like it was a separate entity or something it's like they were mine now. So I never, ever would have thought of that, even though I had this feeling in my chest, kept rubbing. It was the inflammation. And I would always do that, but and I'd have a rash that would form just right under the implants. Still nothing.
Yeah.
So what was interesting to me was in those days after meeting with her, I had signs that were so in my face. A billboard that said something about these PIP implants in France. Another friend calling me who said, every time you talk about how sick you are, you sound like my neighbor. You should call her. So I call a stranger who I don't even know, tell her what I'm experiencing. And she said, it's your breast implants. I said, you're saying this too? Why is everyone saying this? That's when I found the Facebook group. And okay. I feel like I entered the Twilight Zone.
Wow.
Here I'm reading post after post from women that sound just like me. I mean, they were taking the words out of my mouth. Mm-hmm. I feel like I'm dying. My hair's falling out. I can't breathe when I walk up a flight of stairs. And when I get my breast implants out, the symptoms start to improve.
Yeah.
And so what I will say is I have a really strong intuition, some of which I do think was very blocked by those implants. Mm-hmm. But it was resonating with me because I had tried everything else. And the things that I would try, I think Danica Patrick talks about this a lot. Yeah, maybe you'd feel like a little bit better, or maybe the inflammation would go away just a teeny bit, but then introduce something that you're eating, like something that's gluten, and there you are again, more inflammation. And I gained up to 57 pounds.
Wow. And you had your implants over how long of a period?
I had them for 15 years. I did notice hormonal things right off the bat, like within the first 9 months, but you're not, or at least I was not connecting it back to the breast implants because so many of my friends had breast implants. Mm-hmm. They didn't have any hormonal things. I had night sweats. I had a ruptured ovarian cyst, like things that just weren't happening.
Right.
For that.
Yeah.
So, and then as time went on, it would take a kind of a small fender bender, because that's a physical trauma to the body, and then an emotional one. And all 38 symptoms came out, starting with vertigo.
Wow. Unreal. And, even still, because we're told that they're safe, when something like that happens, whether it's vertigo, whether you have hair loss, you aren't looking within and going, it's because of my breast implants, or it could be because of my breast implants. And there's many surgeons that don't actually go over the health risks of putting in implants. They go over the surgical risks. Right. That was my scenario. Yeah. So I knew the risks of being on the table, but I was not told that there was a possibility of developing autoimmune disorder or having rashes appear all over my body, or depression, anxiety, like there's a long list as speaking about. So when these symptoms arise, it's becoming the last point of reference. And it's really challenging, as you've shared in your own journey, to even arrive at that conclusion that there possibly could be something going wrong because of the implants in your body.
And yet at the same time, it makes so much sense. It makes so much sense to me, having now studied holistic medicine since 2012, because we talk about root cause. And like I said, you can do treatments, you can change your diet, you can, meditate each day. But if you still have the root cause in your body that's creating this scenario, well, then it's not going to get better until the root cause is removed. So I think like the point that I was at, and I made this decision, by the way, in 3 weeks. So I didn't know, if this tells you anything, in all of my years in plastic surgery, I had never witnessed an explant.
Mm-hmm.
So that tells you again that for me, like you don't see it that often, A. B, I hadn't known any friends who had removed theirs.
Mm-hmm.
So I hadn't had anyone's experience. So I didn't know what to even expect. I was so nervous. And here I was the one always making my patients feel comfortable and being there for them and showing them that compassion. And for the first time in my life, I really, really needed that.
Absolutely.
And having gone to 3 consults, we can talk about that, with Beverly Hills plastic surgeons, right? This is the beauty capital of the world.
Yeah.
We should be well versed on all aspects of plastic surgery. For them to look at me in the eye and tell me that all these women were lying, that all these women were crazy, that this was a social media phenomena, even though this illness has been around far before social media. For them to look me in the eyes, and when I was pleading to be heard and save my life, because that's kind of where I felt like this was going, and tell me, and not be comforting, not even say like, we'll help you, we'll remove them. No, they were telling me that actually we don't want to remove them because we know that you're not going to be happy with the way it looks and you're going to be deformed.
Wow.
And I had a deformity. That's why I got breast implants in the first place. So I said to them, each of them, you just said the wrong thing to the wrong girl.
Totally.
And I'm going with what the women are saying, not with what you're saying. And, furthermore, let me worry about what it's going to look like, because I can't feel like this anymore. So for me, it resonated with me. And I thought to myself, with all the money I've spent on this, all of the practitioners I've seen, I never considered this. And I'm willing to consider this. I'm willing to take them out, even if it's not it. Because I had this drive in me that I needed to know. I needed to know if it was the breast implants.
Totally. And I mean, there are other solutions as well. Like, just because you remove your implants, and I know sometimes it's not a cheap procedure, like, as you know. And so this isn't necessarily easily available to everybody, but as a surgeon, your advice should include reconstructive surgery. Like, you're a plastic surgeon, and that is your ability, especially in the beauty capital of the world, in Beverly Hills, where that almost like instilling that fear into a woman, that thinking like, if they take this out, they're going to be depleted and deflated, and that's your only option.
Right.
And it's like, well, it's actually not. I had a fantastic surgeon that did what's called a U-flap, and most surgeons, good surgeons anyways, will tell you not to do a fat transfer at the time of removing your implant and the capsule, for many different reasons, around could it cause infection, to the fat not holding. It's so much on your body. And the surgeon that I had, Dr. Urzola, here in Costa Rica, actually, he has this procedure called U-flap, where the fat from basically your upper abdomen, like around your rib cage, kind of pulls out, your skin there at the top of the rib cage, and he flips up the fat. So, and it doesn't leave your body. It's not exposed to the oxygen, in the sense of if it was being extracted from a syringe, right, and then re-injected. And that was an option for me. And it was one of the reasons why I wanted to go with him, because I was concerned about how I was going to look.
Right.
And, many different women have a different fat tissue content. And for me, I didn't have any to begin with. And so there was a strong chance that by removing my implant, that was still going to be the same. Of course, until they open you up, they don't know.
Right.
And so I thought about that. And just even this procedure, I think about how many surgeons either A, don't know about it, but two, aren't offering other solutions, you know, and telling women 6 months from now, you could do a fat transfer after you've healed, you know, if that's something you want to do, and that there could be a hard in between, right? Where you are a little more deflated, but it doesn't have to be permanent that way, should you not want it to.
Right.
And I think that's really unfair to not be sharing those details with women. You know, and I make this joke, and Amanda, I'm sure you you would agree. I always say, had a surgeon told me that you could take fat, unwanted fat, and I've got enough to spare. So it's like you could take fat from my butt, my lower back, my inner thighs, and give me the volume that I don't have in my chest. How many women would rather do that? You know, I would have rather have done that.
Yeah.
And it wasn't an option available. And I know that's more complex from a surgical standpoint, because you can't guarantee what the results are going to look like, that the fat's going to hold. You might need to come back in a few years' time because you lose weight, you're burning it off, and it could change. So I get that from a surgical point, but you just disclose that. And again, it's like, for me, I got to be the one to decide that risk, right? Do you want the laundry list, the chemical cocktail,
Right.
plants made of, and then the symptoms that can arise from it?
Right.
Or do you want to go a more holistic, natural route by taking fat on your body and giving yourself volume?
Yeah, and fat transfer just wasn't done on that scale back then. And so I think you will see more of that in the future. Yeah, and you know, just again, I think so many of us would be just so happy, just be transparent, like we talked about. And to be quite honest, even if they had said you could get autoimmune, and this was back when I was in my 20s, I think that my attitude then would have been like, I honestly don't have any autoimmune in my family. We're really lucky. We're really a pretty healthy family. I think I would have said, well, I don't have any history of that, because you also think you're invincible. So don't think that I am not taking my part in this. I took a chance on something that honestly, I'm sure I'm pretty, like, my parents did not want me doing this, you know, but I was an adult and they know me, and I'm just really determined, and I'm going to do what I want to do. And so there wouldn't have been anybody to talk me out of it at the time, because I really felt that dealing with my deformity, even if it wasn't really like other people didn't notice it as much, it bothered me. And so I really felt like I wanted to fix that. And even now, looking back, people say, well, do you wish that you had never done this? And that is such a hard question for me to answer, because I feel like this is my purpose. I love helping these women and feel like I had to go through this so I could truly understand what they're going through. But yeah, so I can't even say that I regret it, because this experience changed me in so many ways for the better. I live just such a different lifestyle now. I've slowed down. I put my money into self-care, right? Instead of taking all my friends out to dinner.
Yeah.
You know, and eating the wrong things and eating things on the go. And right, I was just doing it all wrong. Working in an office with fluorescent lighting, not getting any vitamin D. Like, I was doing it all wrong.
Totally. And regret doesn't serve you, you know, like, you can't change the past, number one. And you might as well, like you said, you took the lessons from it, and it's also turned you into who you are today. And, you know, the experiences that you have. And so, and I think there's so many negative emotions that come with regret that then also materialize in the body, right? When you think of like guilt and shame and remorse and all of this, and it's like, you can only look forward, you can only act forward. So it served a purpose, good or bad, but if you can learn from it, then those are the lessons. I always say, like, fail forward. And for me, I don't regret it. I loved having my implants. I loved how my body looked. I loved how I felt. I didn't get them because I was trying to gain anything outwardly. For me, I looked at it as, I got mine in at 25. So I was a little older than a lot of I wouldn't say, well, I don't know about a lot. I don't know the statistic, but typically you hear that girls are getting them, between 18 and 23, like in their early 20s.
Mm-hmm.
And I looked at it as no different than like getting my nails done. I get my nails done every 2 weeks because I can. I'm able to afford it and I enjoy it. And I like how I look with it, right? No different than getting my hair done.
Right.
And that was for me my why. And so I enjoyed it while I had it. And then no different than yourself, when I came into this knowledge, and I remember in 2018 when textured implants were being recalled.
Mm-hmm.
And like you, it's amazing how we can push out what we don't want to hear.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the first time I learned the word explanting. And I'm sure you remember as well that there was the whole hashtag movement had started like on explanting.
Right.
And I called my surgeon as well and said, do I have I don't think I have textured implants, but I just want to make sure. And he said to me, you're totally fine. He's never used textured implants in his practice.
Yeah.
I have nothing to worry about.
Right.
And I literally said, okay, I have nothing to worry about. I'm putting that behind.
Yeah.
And I had a best friend that said to me, I know we've been best friends since we were like 19 and I'm 38 now. So it's been a really beautiful, long friendship. And we've never been in really a fight. And I got perturbed. She sent me this article on breast implant illness.
Yeah.
I told her I would read it. She said, I'm asking you to read it, and then I'm never going to bring it up again. Because at this time, I was having outbreaks periodically on my body. Mm-hmm. And I was doing everything, trying to figure out, is it in the wine I'm drinking? Is it, in dairy? Is it in meat? I'm an A blood type, so I should be more on a plant-based diet. And so I was doing all of these things to try to figure it out. So she had sent me this article. And she said, read it and I'll never bring it up again.
Right.
I know I read it because I would never lie to her. And I said I would. Mm-hmm. But I literally can't tell you what the article was about. I didn't want to receive it.
Right.
Putting it in one ear and out the other. Mm-hmm. And yet everything that's now happened in between, and even for you in between, it's brought me to this point of explanting you, this point of explanting. And I think of how many women your voice has reached, like thousands upon thousands and thousands of women. And without going through that experience, you wouldn't have the effect that, that you are doing now.
Right.
And so I love that that's your own approach as well for yourself, that it's not a regret, but the lesson now, like how you're able to help other women, through your own experience.
Yeah, no. And the way I look at it is this. One is I started my Instagram. I didn't even really do Instagram before I did it for a little bit. I was really just a late adapter to social media. I don't like it. I'll just be honest. And I'm a private person. So doing something like this is so out of character for me, but because I wanted to support Dr. Brenner, I said to him after my surgery, I feel like you saved my life. And to thank you, I will always take care of you because I just believe in reciprocation. And I knew that I had the ability to do that just because I am the type that's why I've done so well in my work over the years. I attract people. I love people. Yeah. So I knew that I would have women coming to me and asking me who had done my surgery. And I felt like after meeting with these other surgeons that were not telling me the truth, and to have one that was honest with me and said, I've been seeing more and more of this, and these women do seem to be getting better. And Amanda, maybe we should try taking them out and leaving them out. And I just about fell off my chair. I just couldn't believe I was finally being acknowledged. Totally. He didn't promise me anything. He said, I don't know that this is going to be it, but we can try it if you're open to it. And I said, yes, no. I've been waiting to find a surgeon who would say the same thing that you're saying. And the fact that he's reconstructive, I knew was even that much better. So he was just going to have even more skill at leaving what I had left and giving me a beautiful result. Because I don't want women looking in the mirror for the rest of their lives and being reminded of this time. It was very dark. And there are so many bright things, yes, that are happening now. It's a beautiful thing. Women all across the globe, right? Supporting each other, sending
Totally.
each other messages. And again, I am not trying to take these off the market. I am not trying to ruin anyone's livelihood. It's not like one person like me would even have that power anyway. They have shadow banned me, which I just find so interesting. It just adds to all of this. They have banned my account. They have sent me messages that I'll be banned for 90 days. Oh, right when the FDA announcement's coming out on squamous cell carcinoma. That's not a coincidence, is it?
Yeah.
And yet they can never send me anything that I've posted that is misinformation. Because
Right.
guess what? It's not misinformation.
No.
All I'm doing is reposting articles. I'm just bringing everything to one place where
Mhm.
women can feel supported if they've had the same reaction as me. And
Right.
you have to remember, all I've heard for 4 years from the medical community is, "This is so rare." So if it's so rare, then nobody should have a problem with me talking about it. And if
Totally.
you worked in patient care like I have for over 20 years and you care about people, if you think I'm gonna find out information that could help someone else and not say it, well, I think that would be criminal.
Yes.
And
I
so
agree.
I need to do what's right for my soul, and this is what's right for me.
Yeah. Yeah. Very, very well said. I agree. I want to ask you, how did you meet Dr. Brenner? How did you find your surgeon?
After those first 3 that were not telling me the truth, I went home and I did something I've never done before. I'd only dreamed of doing it, and it is called surrendering.
Mm,
I don't think you can ever tell a person how to do that. And especially not a controlling person like me. I definitely am a control freak. Um, I remember exactly where I was in my bedroom. I was on my knees and I said, God, if you will find me somebody to remove these, I'm going to put all my faith in you that it will even look great. And you have to remember, having a deformity, you just assume it's not going to look great, which
yeah.
was silly in me thinking that because I didn't know. And now it's the most beautiful I've ever had. You cannot tell that there was any deformity. You can't even really tell that I had breast implants. It just
Wow.
looks like mine. And and so I prayed to God and I said, if you find me a doctor who will take these out, I'll believe that they're even going to look, I'm just going to put all my faith in you, which is what you're supposed to do. But I
Yes.
don't know how I even knew to do it. And 2 days later, I Googled one more time, explant surgeon Beverly Hills. I was going to start just looking out of state at that point.
Yeah.
And Dr. Kevin Brenner popped up. And I didn't know him, but something just seemed familiar. And so I thought, this is a sign. I better take it. And I went in and I told the same story, but his response was totally different. And I had surgery with him 3 weeks later. His entire staff was so caring and supportive and loving. Like I said, I had done this for so many patients over the years, and I needed it this time. And yeah, my whole life changed after that. And now I actually work with him.
And how long after your surgery did you start working with him?
Well, that was never the intention. I actually worked the first 6 months. I just was recovering. And then I thought, I said to him one day, I said, wait a minute, what am I going to do for work?
Yes.
I'm not going to work in an office that sells breast implants until somebody figures out what's going on here, at
Mhm.
least. And he said, well, I don't know what you're going to do then. So I start working in hair restoration because I thought, well, it's not going to harm anybody. And this would be, again, in my wheelhouse of cosmetics. And it was great. I mean, I liked working with men. They were all lovely, but it wasn't the passion that I had for what I had just been through. So yeah,
Totally.
about 6 months or so later, he said, would you come and handhold these women through their surgeries? Because I just can't imagine what they've been through. And I
Wow.
said, yeah, I would like to be a patient advocate now. I realize now after all the medical gaslighting I went through and my journey, wow, people really need this. And I don't think they realize there are people like me who want to support them and want to stand by them and make sure that they're getting the best care possible.
I love hearing that. And it's rare, right? It shouldn't be, but it is really rare to have a surgeon in this field of plastic surgery like genuinely look a woman in the eye and say, like, I believe you. And you mentioned earlier where he was open and willing to trying and to seeing. And and the other importance with finding your surgeon, on my website, on one of my blogs, I talk about your surgeon matters and why, because it's not enough just to have them remove the implant, right? You're wanting to make sure like a full en bloc procedure is done and removing the capsule completely intact. And there's a lot of surgeons that can't do it because it takes a different skill set, or they just won't do it because there is a little more risk on the table, as you know. And so for you to be able to find in LA, a surgeon that meets both the compassion and the belief side along with the skill is amazing. And, we are going to there's a few other social media handles and we're going to be putting it into the show notes. So definitely encourage you to follow Dr. Brenner. He's on national television often as well, talking about this topic, which I really love and respect for him as a surgeon, because I know it's not a majority viewpoint, and that takes a lot of courage. And I also think it being a male, I hate saying that, but being a man speaking out on this issue, we need men leadership like that. We shouldn't need males to do that, but we do. And so I'm grateful for his voice on that.
Yeah, no, there's a group of surgeons that we do an explant surgeon Zoom call with each month. And they're all heroes. And now 4 of them have women like me working in their offices that are advocates for the patients. And it's really sweet. And I think that the patients love it and they love coming in and meeting the advocates and so forth. And so, yeah, everybody has a specialty for a reason. And like I say, we know practice makes perfect, right? So I'm going to go with a surgeon who's doing this on a regular basis.
Absolutely.
That's what I would do. I'm not saying everyone has to do what I do. And I'm not saying everybody has to go to Dr. Brenner. I'm saying I just wanted to show an example to women of a surgeon, the qualities you should be looking for, because it was even difficult for me. And I worked in the industry. Yeah. That is all. And so, but I knew this procedure was going to be different because even though that is my really strong skill set in sales, I said, this is different though. I said that to Dr. Brenner in the beginning. Women are going to want to go to and hear who another woman who's had this experience has gone through, right? That's really, because we have patients who are like, after even just having their discovery call with me, they're like, okay, I'm already signing up with him. I'm like, well, you need to have your consult with him first. And they'll say, no, because if you say that was right for you, then I agree. It's interesting, but it also speaks, I think, to how desperate some of these women are. Like I was desperate. That's why I did it 3 weeks later.
Yeah. Well, and similarly, when I found my surgeon here was in Costa Rica, I had my first consultation in December. I had a follow-up one in January, and March 2nd was my date. So I think, and you spoke about this earlier, intuitively, if you're in tune with what's going on inside, like your body knows that something is not right. And so when you find that right surgeon, it doesn't surprise me that you were 3 weeks later, because it was very similar for me. It was like, yep, I've got my surgeon. Okay, now when is the soonest date? Because I then carried this like heaviness on my chest.
Yes.
Because you can't now unknow what you know.
Right. Yes.
Right? You feel it.
See it now. And that's what I'm saying. For people to say to me like, oh, don't tell everyone, how many women are sick. You can't not tell what you're seeing. Like, I'm not going to lie. No. And hey, I don't want this for women. When you have breast implants because of, say, a deformity or, say, reconstruction after breast cancer,
Yeah.
you want these to work out.
Yes.
Trust me when I say that, right? Because it was scary thinking like, I can't have these anymore. So I'm
Totally.
certainly not one that's going to say like, there shouldn't be something like this. I just wonder how they can make something so it works with the human body. I don't know if that is possible. I don't
Mhm.
know because it's a foreign object at the end of the day.
It
And
is.
look at a splinter wants to get out of your body and it's a little splinter.
Yeah. Pushes its way out or
Yeah.
gets pushed out, right? Like that's what happens. So
If there was a way that we could all come together and there could be more transparency in the beauty industry, right? We just don't want to have, dangerous products.
yeah.
That's it. It's not asking for too much, just to have
Yeah.
transparency because just like cigarettes, there's still going to be plenty of people who are willing to take that risk.
Yes. Yeah, there is. And I say the same thing, and it's been wild that it's taken the FDA so long to put the black box warning, right? The label on implants, which, for those listening, that only happened in 2020. It was pretty recent, 2019, 2020.
Yeah.
Um, and as long as you're able to make an informed decision, and that for me is across the board on anything, right? Like as long as you're able to actually make an informed decision, then you can actually consent to
Yeah.
what you're doing. Without that, it's criminal, my opinion.
It's true. And I even say, and it might be like a little far reaching, but I think women might even have to take a test.
Mm,
Really acknowledge what they've read because like you even said you can read things sometimes but you're not taking any of it in. I can't tell you how many women over the years when it came to their pre-op and having all their consent forms and they'd look at me when they had the stack of consent forms, they'd say, do I really need to sign all of this? And I'd always say the same thing. It is in your best interest to read through that in its entirety, and yes, you must sign in all of the areas required.
yeah.
So do you know what I mean? Like they think they get it, but I'm just speaking for myself. You
Yeah.
really kind of have to hammer it home, I think, especially when patients are younger, because they
Totally.
haven't experienced sickness or illness yet. They're not toxic yet. It takes time, right? It's an accumulation over time. I always say it's like your bucket runneth over. Okay, so the implants for me cause my bucket of toxins to run over.
Yeah.
So, had I known what I know now, I would have continually detoxed and stimulated my lymphatic system and kept my lymphatic system healthy, keep my drainage pathways open. But again, live and learn. That's why I'm trying to teach women this now,
Yeah.
because those are the things I would have done if I had known.
Yeah. And that knowledge is so empowering, right? Like you can make better decisions, and when you know better, you can do better.
Totally.
And it blows my mind to hear you say that there are women, and this is I think human nature for a lot of people, that they won't take 30 minutes to like read through something that could literally have a long lasting or forever lasting effect on their body and their health and their well-being, but sit in front of the TV scrolling on Instagram for an hour. It's like no problem, you totally have time to do that, but not
Yeah.
slowing down and like really looking at what could change your life for the rest of your life.
Right.
And you and I both know women who had worse health symptoms than you and I,
Mhm.
and will forever, well, maybe not forever, I shouldn't say that, but for a long time, even after the removal of the implants, it's going to take a lot of work, a lot of dedication
Mhm.
to repair and restore the body.
Yes. And honest, it's in my opinion, it's more than just removing them, right?
Yeah.
Because now we have accumulated toxins. You must heal and detox afterwards. I help my patients a lot within my scope of being a health coach, just so then they can save some money and there are things that they can do on their own that I just want to teach them because I
Sure.
think that we all need to take it upon ourselves to do more of this on our own. But then I always guide them. We have the first holistic breast team because technically, I guess I could say that We're one of the first integrative plastic surgery offices in the world.
Wow.
Integrating other health professionals. So we're a team to help all of these patients. And so after surgery, I always guide them and say, healing your gut, balancing your hormones, and ridding your body of heavy metals, you're going to be like a new person.
Totally.
So that's what I recommend. But many don't do it because they're feeling so much better just with the implants out. They haven't really learned that piece of it yet, right? Like that we have to keep being preventative and keep taking care of ourselves to prevent future.
Totally.
So again, I just think that holistic medicine, people are going to learn so much over the next 10 more years or so. I think we're all starting to learn how to treat our bodies better.
Yes. And it's really incredible just starting to see this shift coming into Western medicine, which some people might not really understand, like the core difference between Western and Eastern, where Eastern really goes to the root cause to solve the issue versus Western medicine that traditionally is giving you the Band-Aid for the symptom, right? So it's symptom focused versus root cause focus. And it's incredible, even just when you're saying an integrative office where you're bringing in holistic practices into a surgical office is also pretty remarkable.
I just think everybody should have options. And our practitioners, they all have their own offices, so they're not inside our office. But we're offering red light now to patients. We use special 528 hertz music when they're going to sleep right before surgery because it's so healing. We offer a Reiki session with a distance Reiki practitioner prior to surgery so they can relax our patients. So I'm trying to do everything in the best interest of our patients.
I love that. And I love that you actually brought up the music because so many people, we don't realize that everything in life carries a frequency. Yes. And that frequency is either going to elevate your own personal frequency vibration or it's going to bring it down. Right. And I saw on one of your posts actually that you guys were using this specific frequency. You said it's the
528 hertz.
Yeah. Which is amazing because it's known as the love or the miracle frequency.
Yes, right.
And what a powerful way to just elevate that woman's mind and body going into surgery. And then also on the recovery, because that is so important. I tell people, not just like women, but like your how well you heal sets you up for everything, and so you really have to take that recovery process very seriously for me, and that's my opinion.
Yes.
And so when we bring in things like from using machines, like I have a Healy that is, a technology device to using sound baths, like sound journeys, but then also there's like specific music that you can fall asleep to at night and doing certain meditations that will incorporate this to elevate the frequency. And really that frequency has the ability to heal.
Yes.
Which is so powerful.
Absolutely. I mean, I haven't been to a doctor in 4 years or more. I don't know if I ever want to return to one after what I've been through. Sure. And I use frequency devices like the Healy to work on balancing my body. And I totally believe in it. I know I'm getting ready. I'm playing the music and it's different programs based on what I might be dealing with that week. If let's say, I don't know, I had a headache or something, right? You can send frequency to it. Or if I'm working on something like fear, right? It's an emotional.
Totally.
A lot of things that are coming up for me right now, it's emotional stuff that I need to heal in order to fully step into my purpose and my power. And I'm working on that. I have a mentor now and we'll read from the Bible some days. And then he has me do different activities other days because he is helping me to fully step in to my purpose.
Yeah.
So we're shedding the old.
Yeah.
Finding our.
And you raised another good point here too, is like sometimes we think healing is just physical and it's well beyond that. The mental and the emotional should not be overlooked. And it often is because we can't see it, right? Like it's not as tangible. And therefore, sometimes we dismiss, we forget, we overlook. And there is definitely this journey, I call it, of really coming home to her, coming home to myself, of, you know, calling back in your power, you know, creating that space for your feminine to be unleashed again. And you have to be doing that inner work emotionally and mentally to restore the narrative that maybe was broken through plants, you know. And there's a lot of negative talk, and that's human nature. No matter like how good you are at your own affirmations and positive thinking, we're all human, and you're going to go through that. And there's a narrative that I think each of us told ourselves pre and post surgery. And so that is such an important component to be conscious of, the mental and emotional healing that needs to happen alongside of the physical.
Yeah, no, I mean, it was interesting when I first started reading all of these women's posts in the groups. The one thing that my intuition told me, and I'm speaking for myself in this too, was a lot of unhealed trauma. And if you know anything about holistic medicine, you know, like I had a horrific car accident a year before getting my breast implants. I was hit 60 miles an hour from behind. And so again, I'm not saying I wouldn't have had this reaction anyway to them, but that would have not been the ideal time to put them in my body. But of course, a surgeon was not trained in this way. So he would never say that, oh, you just had a car accident. You go, maybe you should wait. Maybe we should balance your hormones first. Right. And get your adrenals under control, because all of that is all fight or flight stuff again, that I hadn't healed from my childhood when I went into fight or flight when I lost my dad at a young age. So you have to take all of these things into consideration. The other thing I will say, and I say this all the time, explant is an opportunity to heal on not only a physical, but an emotional and spiritual level as well. And you see it. And so I used that example earlier. I say the same thing to all patients. Some take me up on it. Some don't. They get back to their lives, which I can't blame them for that. They've just, been busy trying to save their lives, raise their families, have their careers.
Yes.
I get it. But I never stopped. Like, I continue to learn more about detoxing, healing my gut. I'm now doing glymphatic work, which is a little different than lymphatic, but still so important, because I want to educate myself. I want to create this worldwide network of practitioners that can help women. I already have them in different states, different cities around LA. So, you know, if a patient comes from another city, well, we have lymphatic people, colonic people in your area that we can refer you to as well.
Totally.
So,
and you know, I shared with you that we're doing an explant embodiment retreat.
Yes.
We're doing the first one coming up in Costa Rica, April the 11th to the 18th. And a part of my heartbeat and my vision behind creating this retreat is there's so many healing modalities and healing tools that are available that women either don't even know that they need these healing modalities and these tools, or they don't know where to get them or where to start. And that can be very overwhelming. And so throughout this week, I've really curated this retreat to include so many of the different elements that are needed, that then they can go home and carry those on, go and find the cold therapy, the red light therapy, you know, how to even eat the food we eat to help our bodies heal, right? Not just from a restoring the gut or the microbiome, doing a detox, but then just on a cellular level, regular, like how are we replenishing and supporting our body after something like this? And even if it's a year later, 3 years later, your body is still healing after going through something so shocking to the system. It might not have been traumatic to you mentally to put in implants, but for your body, as we were talking earlier, it's a foreign object and it's traumatic for the body. You know, so it's going to take time. And so, you know, we're going to be moving these women through this restoration process at the beginning of the week into rejuvenation. And in that first part, doing a lot of that deep work emotionally and mentally on journaling and guided journaling, like how to even start addressing some of these inner issues that you might not even know that are there, that have been suppressed, you know, and then being able to come into this rejuvenation of like releasing that which no longer serves you and calling in that exciting, like that coming home to yourself, and then moving into realignment, you know, and celebrating your power and, you know, bringing that back in. And so there'll be a lot of these type of tools that you mentioned in that week. And so many women are going to learn about that for the first time. And my hope is that then they will go back to their communities, you know, and if you're in LA, hit up Amanda. She can totally help you, you know, plug you in. But we all don't have an Amanda in every city, you know. The cool thing is, though, is the internet that's the positive side, you know, and being able to connect with somebody like yourself to say, we know of a doctor over in a different state or in a different country that's doing great work too, that is just around the surgery, you know. So
absolutely. And that's another reason why I'm so shadow banned, is because that was my goal, was to show all of these alternative therapies to the public, because that was the other huge takeaway. I mean, I had so many lessons. Not that I ever want anyone to go through a chronic illness journey, but honestly, I needed this. It was so great for me on so many levels. And I say that having gone through it and gotten to the other side, obviously. But that was another thing. I thought the normal human being spend their whole life working 9 to 5 and then some, right? Just to put food on the table. Now you've got people who are sick in the family. Of course, a parent's going to take care of their children before they are going to take care of themselves, right? So they don't ever really take great care of themselves. They put everybody else first. And then what happens when it's time to retire, right? You haven't taken care of your body. You haven't been able to be proactive because you're just trying to survive and get through your days. So then what?
Yes.
And you don't even have the time to enjoy your retirement because you're now sick or you sadly pass away.
Yeah.
That to me is unacceptable. And that's what's going to now change. We're not going to live like this anymore. Yeah. We can't. This is not a life. This is like slavery.
Yeah.
All of us working to just give more money to the government. And I'm over it.
Yeah. Me too. I always say, you know, like that is such an existing, like you're just existing in life. You're not actually living.
And that's what it was with the breast implants with me too. I say it all the time. I was just existing. I wasn't living. I was like a zombie.
Yeah.
I couldn't emote. I didn't even know what I felt anymore. Right? I just was numb. Like my legs were literally numb with neuropathy from the breast implants. I was numb from head to toe. I couldn't even have like a successful relationship with them. I just couldn't. It was like almost like kind of being, I know it sounds terrible. And I'm, again, not meaning to sound like that, but it almost just kind of felt like I was in jail in my own body.
I think a lot of women feel that, you know, especially just even that feeling. There's a lot of depression. There's a lot of anxiety. And if you don't know why, that's actually like one of the worst feelings, right? Because it's
very scary. Yeah. And I couldn't say it then. And I just want to say that too, just in being more vulnerable. That was always a really hard thing for me. I'm just a very proud, capable, responsible person. I always have been. I don't think I complain much. You know, that was tough because for the first time in my life, I'm always the one who cares for everybody in my life. You know, that's my love language, you know, gifts of service or whatever that is. And, you know, for the first time I needed it. And I was kind of shocked by, you know, people in my life who were like, oh, well, we don't really know what to say about you feeling so sick. And it's too much for us. Like a few friends said that to me.
Wow.
Can you imagine like your friends when you need them?
Yes.
I was shocked by that.
So would you say that that's probably one of the most challenging things you went through post surgery?
Well, when I got them out, for me, it represented, because I'm a Scorpio, and I think we always look at any opportunity for like rebirth to do it. I have no issue with, change. I look
Mhm.
at it as like a refreshing new excuse to do something different. But I did get rid of anything toxic in my life.
Mm.
So that was friends, the type of men I was attracted to, bosses. I refused to work for another toxic boss.
Sure.
um, Foods, what the water I drank, the products I used. And you think it sounds like it's going to be so overwhelming. And let me tell you, if I can do it, anybody can do it.
Yes.
Again, it's
Yes.
not that hard. And you start with one thing. Start with your deodorant.
Yes.
Start with your fluoride toothpaste. Start with something simple.
Yeah.
And then once you get into it, I can't explain it. And I say to people all the time, my old friends from the past, they wouldn't even want to probably talk to me anymore, because I just talk about like health and self-care and things that
Yes.
make me happy like that. Right. So it can change you, but in a really great way.
It does. And if you look at the whole laundry list, because it literally is everything, right? It's in our detergents, our cleaning products, our face products. You mentioned toothpaste. It's in the quality of our water. It's even in our clothes, right? Like how many more studies keep coming out around women's workout attire, and it specifically, that carry such harsh plastic residue toxins,
I
right? That
know.
then cause ovarian issues,
No.
fertility issues, because you're wearing, so it can be very overwhelming. And like you mentioned, I just say, just start. And like you
Right.
said, pick one thing. And
Yeah.
eventually, over time, you'll look back probably in like 2 years and you'll be like, I have a completely different life, completely,
Totally. Yeah.
and it doesn't need to be everything right now, because that's not realistic,
No. Yeah.
but little by little, you're able to make small decisions that have really big impact in the quality of your life. So
100%.
I love you. I love watching your stuff and like everything you post.
Thank
Um, yeah,
But
yeah,
but in what you're saying, that's what though I think, and it was genuinely just me being interested when I started waking up after getting my implants out. Well, then, quarantine, and that really woke me up. And then I was like awake. And
yes,
I started reading about all of the things that the FDA approves, like dyes in children's cereals that are so dangerous. And I just started posting things because I felt it was interesting. So I kind of became this, whatever you want to call them, truther account, I guess.
yeah,
That wasn't I was just posting things that I thought were interesting. And I
totally.
guess I'm really surprised that so many other people, I love it, that they think it's interesting. And I mean, I have men following me. I have women who never had breast implants. I've got younger people. So
Yeah,
it really like runs the gamut. Like it's not, and I love the men following me because I largely do talk about breast implants, but I'm just talking about general health.
yes,
But they love it. They're here to support. We need more men
yeah.
being aware of this and supporting.
Yeah, we do. I think part of the reason is that this information, and like you mentioned this earlier, there's not a lot of your posts that you're outside of like your quotes or Amanda's tips that you're putting out there. A lot of your posts are reposting articles and other factual information that you come across.
Yeah.
And yet it's mind blowing because people aren't looking for that. For example, how many of the foods like Twinkies, for example, that the FDA deems as food and legal in America and in many other countries around the world are illegal.
Yeah.
And there's a whole laundry list of that where you can go and see FDA foods that are approved that are banned in different countries around the world. And that's public information. Like
Right.
it's out there, but the problem is like we're not looking for it because for so long we've outsourced our trust,
Yes.
that governments, the medical system, all of these systems, the banking system, financial system, everything we have in place
Mhm.
is there to serve and protect us, and
Yeah.
therefore can do no harm.
Yeah.
And instead of outsourcing your trust, it's like turn inwards, do your research, look within, and don't ignore that intuition, the God center, you know, like there's so much of that that is heavily important to be doing.
Totally.
And I believe that's part of what you encourage people in the world to do through like your account and your voice is, you know, you're just sharing this information and people are starting to go, huh, she got that from the FDA's website, or she got that from, you know,
I am not posting any misinformation. Why would I want to post any information? And again, if you guys, whoever it is, the FDA, whomever, are going to approve these things and you don't want us to talk about it, too bad. We're talking. Everyone's talking. Everyone's sharing. I get that message all the time from followers. So if we can't trust so-and-so and we can't trust the medical industry, who do we trust?
Right.
I said each other.
Totally.
Because we are all in this together.
Totally.
Our
And yourself.
yes.
Like you should not, like you should be able to trust yourself, do the research and know that like what you've looked at has been examined. You have referenced it and you're owning your own decision. Right. And that brings you your own freedom as well. When you can say like, no, I'm certain, I stand behind my decision and I know why. Knowing why and understanding that is so empowering.
There are good and bad in every profession. There are good doctors and there are doctors who I don't agree with their integrity. There are good teachers and there are a lot who are not. Cops. There are some really great cops and there's some really dirty cops. And I've experienced both. So it's like you can't, there always has to be, I always have a hard time accepting that. I want life to just be all rainbows and unicorns, but it's never going to be like that. You're always going to have dark and light. You're always, this is a spiritual war that's going on right now. And there are small little revolutions going on in every industry right now. Doesn't matter if it's the banking industry or if it's the healthcare industry. And we're kind of like getting rid of the low-hanging fruits that are a problem.
Yes, I'm like, I am a fan of draining the swamp. I'll say that line, you know, but it's what needs to happen.
It needs to happen right now. We need to make this better. I believe that you should leave everything better than you found it. And so this just had to happen with the breast implant thing. This has been going on for too long. It is time. And by the way, the women, I kept saying that to the other advocates. I'm like, you know what? We've carried a lot on our shoulders, but it's going to be the women and your stories that really are what bring this on. And it's just so beautiful. All of these women, I just like the followers. I'm like, these are like family now. Sorry.
Yeah, like, they're your people.
I love all, I couldn't imagine like you guys, you know, give me purpose on the days that were really dark, you know, during quarantine and so forth. It was really nice to have people who were on the same page.
I agree. Amanda, I could talk to you for hours. Like, I feel like all of a sudden we're going Joe Rogan, 3 hours. You know, I feel like I could literally talk to you forever. And I'm so grateful to sit down with you and have this conversation. As we wrap up, I want to ask you, because you are on the Freedom CEO podcast. And so I want to ask you, when you think about being the CEO of your life, where you're in charge, you know, you're making the decisions, how has taking ownership over your decision to explant brought you freedom?
Oh, yes. I talk about this all the time. The shackles that bind us. I mean, it brought me freedom because it allowed me to remove the root cause and heal my body, but not only heal it physically, but I finally am now dealing with the things that I've gone through, the traumatic things that I've gone through over the years that I never wanted to deal with. I just kept going, thinking, oh yeah, I'll get to that when I get here, or I'll handle that when I do this. And now I'm just like doing it. And it's honestly, it's not as hard as we make it seem. And how you feel afterwards, like that, what it does to your frequency, I guess you could say, but just that consciousness level. Right. I just keep learning more and expanding more. And this is what we call evolution. And not to fear it. It's kind of like I say it all the time. What we're doing, it's almost like, just free falling, and you're just, right? It's like a free fall, just trusting. And yeah, I just continue to trust God more and more each day. And the more I trust, the better life gets. So I'm just going to stick with this.
I love that. I love that. So powerful. Thank you. Seriously. Thank you for being on the Freedom CEO podcast and being a part of this launch series for the Naked series. And I know I need to have you back. Like, we've got to keep having these conversations. Just so grateful for you. So
I love it. You as well.
Thanks for tuning into the Freedom CEO podcast. If you got value out of today's show, I would love for you to leave a review, as it will help my show reach other people as well. You know what to do. Download this episode, click the like and subscribe button. If you feel like spreading more love, hop over to Instagram and share today's show in your stories. Remember to tag Shane Vidiata and the Freedom CEO. My DMs are always open, so drop me a line. I'd love to connect. Until next time, keep owning your decisions to live a life of freedom. Live a life you love.